prep video. This is Vinay Balaji, and today I'll be talking about three specific topics. So the first specific topic is object-oriented programming. More specifically, the conceptual aspect of object-oriented programming. The second thing I'll be talking about is what is an object. And I'll also be talking about the similarities and differences between an object and a class, because when learning Java, it is really important to know the similarities and differences because many people get confused with them. As a matter of fact, I was very confused with the differences between them when I was learning Java. So I hope that I can help you understand it better than I did when I was learning. And lastly, I'll talk about how to create an object and how to instantiate it. So first off, without further ado, let's talk about object-oriented programming. Well, basically, it is using objects, methods, and properties as instances of a class. Here's an image by TechTarget, which I found that might help you with understanding this concept. Shout out to TechTarget for creating this really helpful image. Well, basically, the class is the human, and an instance of the class is the name, also known as the object. Now, one way to relate methods and properties together is, for example, verify the email or send mail to the address. Now, obviously, this is real object-oriented programming is a very abstract topic, and understanding these relationships can really help you understand it conceptually to a new level. When growing up with learning Java, I had a lot of trouble understanding object-oriented programming. It'll make sense the more and more you practice with Java and coding. We'll be producing more videos in the future that can help you out with this. So stay tuned for that. All right, so without further ado, let's go to the next topic, which is what is an object. So one way to think about an object is as a real-world object. An object is an instance of a class. This is very, very important because the College Board uses this terminology a lot in their AP Computer Science A curriculum, so it's really important that you really understand what that is. Well, basically, the object will have access to anything available in the class because, once again, the object is an instance of the class. Some things to know about the objects is that it has attributes. An object is also a variable. And an object, I'm going to say this a lot of times, but it is one instance or example of a class. So example, a TV would be the class. And Samsung would be the object. Or in other words, an instance of the TV or an instance of the class. Another example would be a car being the class and Tesla being the object. Another example might be a human being the class and Joe being the object. All right, there you go. So these are some examples of how objects and classes relate with each other. Please do not get confused with the differences between an object and class. So now let's talk about classes. All right, so classes are similar in objects because it has attributes. However, they are different because a class has behaviors. Write that down. In addition, a class is a data type and a category. And the real thing which I want you guys to understand is that a class is something broad that can be split up into instances of that class, which would be the object. So in obviously this example, something you should really, really note down is TV, car, and human are classes, and they're split up into instances where Samsung would be the object, Tesla would be the object, and Joe would be the object. All right, so I hope that really helps about understanding what is an object. So now let's talk about how to create an object. So right here is the public class that we will be using. So public class car. What we'll be doing is we'll be trying to print out the price of the car using object-oriented programming. So what this does is this is a private double price. So we'll set price equal to a double variable because most prices are listed in like a decimal format. So private, what private means is that um, it can be only accessible inside the class. Public means that it can be accessible in the whole file. So that is the difference between private and public. Additionally, this is how you create a constructor and P is a parameter. When it says double P, this is the parameter. And why we set P equal to price is because that's how you create a constructor. And that's how double P is going to be the price when we create the object. And get price, this is a get method. This is very, very common in Java. And there's also something called a set method, which is also very common. This will be more spoken about in our next video. So please check that out to understand what get method is. Basically, what you're doing is getting the price so that we could print it out using object-oriented programming. So now, so it can make more sense for you guys, let's create an object. So we have, let's do car. Let's do an instance of the car. So let's do Toyota equals new car 5,000. And now to make sense of this, because this is the whole point of this lesson. So basically, car is the class and Toyota is the object. Okay, so now that I hope that sunk in, basically what we're doing is we're creating a constructor. And that is used using the new operator. And one thing that is important to know is that there can only be one public class in the file. It should be mentioned constantly in the next following videos, but I'll keep a note here. Only one public class in the file. If you have multiple public classes, that'll result in an error. So please only have one public class. Also, one thing to really make sure that you're doing right is that class names start with an uppercase letter. Objects start with a lowercase letter. So this could help programmers understand what is the difference between a class and an object and really identify it within your program. Java necessarily, you don't have to have the class name as an uppercase letter and the object as a lowercase letter. You can do it interchangeably, but it is a convention that you have class names as an uppercase letter and object names as a lowercase letter because it can help programmers debug your code and find out what your code really is doing. It can also help you to find out an error if you ever debug an error if you ever like come upon an error. And now let's try to print this, right? So we set the price of the Toyota equal to $5,000, right? Pretty cheap Toyota. All right, so now let's, obviously you must be thinking, let's just do system.out.println Toyota. Now let's see what that prints out. That's weird. It prints out car at and a bunch of random letters. Well, basically, what it does is that it prints the memory address. Now, obviously, you'll be wondering why is this important, and it is so. It's basically because in the future you'll learn more about a topic called aliasing, and we need to know where the object is being referenced because Java hosts a memory address for each object. Basically what aliasing is where two objects refer to the same memory address, and that's really messy and you don't want to have aliasing in your code. So that's the point of this, to print the memory address. Now to print the actual $5,000, you do system.out. You have a print statement, and then you do Toyota.getPrice. And what this will do is print the actual value. So let's run this. See? So it prints the actual value of the car. And that is pretty much how you create an object and how you print it out. This is the real big takeaway I want you guys to get out of this, is that you use car as the class name, object, the new class name, and parameter. Something that you really need to understand. And yeah, that's pretty much how you create an object. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below or send us an email. That will be linked in the description. Also, please like and subscribe to this video. It will really help us out. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.